Hello everyone. Some of you may have noticed that there was no video last week. Shame on me. This is mainly because we are currently renovating our house, but don't worry. I'm back for you today. And we're starting with the new Sarco TLC. First, of course, we need to check out its capabilities. I really like the new design. I think a lot has been improved. What do you think? This gliding ability on the mud is really practical. Or so I thought. I noticed two Theris on the horizon. No problem, right? The two were slightly more aggressive than usual. Theris are allowed to be aggressive, but they don't have to be. These two, however, were living the dream. Apart from small babies, they wanted to destroy everything, and so it began. I was confident I wouldn't die, but the Theris were tougher opponents than I thought. And as you can see in the recording, I didn't really hit them. The damage I did to the two of them was so pathetic that I'm glad I didn't keep trying. And so I fled into the cooling water. But even there, I was not safe. A Leviathan crept up on me with relish. And that was the end of me. And so the old story of questing begins again. A little sweetness in between. And a small snack before continuing the quest in the warm light of the sunset. Even though the surroundings are so beautiful, I unfortunately have to continue questing so that I don't end up as a snack myself. Then I met a little Hulls, and the world was almost back to normal. Later, I built a nest-to-nest mission. So I diligently collected a few items, most of which were close by. And suddenly, another Sarco appeared. At first I thought, jackpot, now I'm not alone anymore. So I invited my comrade to join my group. He immediately helped build the nest and seemed very friendly. Unfortunately, two other Sarcos crossed our path, and even though they were about to leave the POI, my comrade decided to attack them. This is actually allowed according to the rules. And this is where my lack of experience became very apparent. Contrary to my expectations, our friend did not want to join us again. So I didn't nest mission, but he created a Sarco, and we decided to quest together. First, I had to get mission to me and looked for the Waystone. And then the big questing began again. I don't usually quest on this island, but then again, I'm not usually semi-aquatic. It was still a bit boring because, of course, no one ever strays here, except for people who can easily destroy us. It's really beautiful here, but I don't know my way around very well, so it takes forever to find the items. So I took a look at the skins. Sometimes it's really difficult to find a skin that not only looks good, but also offers camouflage. And then we set off for new shores. Or familiar shores, depending on how you view the mudflats. And after questing for 2.5 light years, I finally managed to grow again. At least you know that it's relatively safe in these places. Especially when you're playing a dinosaur that you're not particularly good at controlling. The worst thing you can do is run head-on into someone who can easily destroy you anyway. And so we grew out of mission, and I switched to my Pachy. After a very long journey across the entire map, I arrived in Green Valley and saw a small herd that included a Pachy. But of course, it wasn't going to stay friendly for long, and the Pachy was attacked. And I suspect that the Pachy wasn't really part of the group, but just tagging along, because no one helped him. Still, I find it a bit strange that the Pachy stayed with this group at all, who didn't even feel bad about him being massacred. But since the Pachy was obviously a rule breaker too, I don't find the loss so bad. There was also a small attack on me, but it came to nothing. I'm no Fidel Castro, but I did escape this assassination attempt. And when I saw the two of them, I knew it wasn't going to end well. And unfortunately, I was right. Why would anyone bring their babies to a place like this? It's so dangerous near hot spots, and people drag their chicks there as if it were an all-you-can-eat buffet. And suddenly, my eye caught sight of an apato, who also wanted to lead his sweet little baby to its death. But I was so captivated by the rocking motion that I forgot all my worries for a moment. So I set off on a new adventure and headed towards Grand Plains. And as if I could sense it, Grand Plains was waiting for me with the next drama. I could still hear his footsteps behind me for quite some time, and I was particularly concerned about the charge that Pachy had loudly announced. But he apparently lost me along the way, so I was able to walk back to Grand Plains completely relaxed. But the story isn't over yet. Even though I really appreciate the attempt to ambush me, it was still relatively obvious. After all, a Pachy isn't as light as a feather. I could hear and see him, but I still appreciate the effort. He couldn't let it go and followed me every step of the way. At the latest, when I confidently threw myself off the cliff, he should have known that we couldn't fight well at this point. But he pulled out all the stops and threw himself off the cliff as well. And with that last charge, I sealed his fate. Let's take a moment to admire the beauty of the game. Ah, so beautiful, so friendly. Anyway, my mission became clear to me again. I had to find a baby for this trophy. And then I found someone. Every time I give a baby a trophy, it fills me with joy. But I was a little distracted by the gobble sound of a city. I just couldn't see him. After looking around several times, I noticed him sitting on the rock above me. There were only 15 minutes left, but I wanted to join a group with him. And my goodness, now all hell is going to break loose. He was really very friendly, but also very busy. Since he wasn't fully grown yet, I offered to let him do some questing. And at first, everything went normally. He started questing. Then he fought a critter. Well, that's not necessarily unusual. Then he stopped and ran in a completely different direction. Suddenly, I saw that he was drinking salt water, and when I asked him about it, he said, "I'm very thirsty." Okay, but we don't have any water here. Why didn't he just say something? By the way, he never finished the quest. I did. When he fell behind, I looked to see what was going on and saw that he was swimming continuously against a rock. I tried to push him up, but it didn't help. So I hoped he would just swim back. How can you get stuck like that? And even though the timer for the reset was running, he took a break first. I decided to sprint to the water so I could have a drink while it was still safe. Sid also just made it to the water. But my goodness, what an adventure. I think Sid really turned the whole thing around. Still, he was a fun team member. So, greetings to dear It's Kendall, and we'll talk next week, my friend.